Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, and the smell of sprue back on the bench. What an exciting moment for me personally. I have been all over the scale hobby universe in the last 6 months, from resin to wood to I don't know what else. But it's real exciting to be back to good old sprue. Now this is the MPC round 2, I know, Eagle 2. And I do have the Eagle 1 on the way. I want to build both of them. I won't build both of them on camera, but I did want to tackle the 2 just because it seems like a lot of fun, and it's a really cool machine. And I loved Space in 1999. I grew up with it, and it was quite obviously a revolutionary show. And boy, was it, it was one of those things where I think science fiction was really pushing the envelope in terms of what stories we wanted to tell. And Moonbase Alpha was a place I really loved to hang out at. Every week. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of joy to be able to build one of these kits. Now, interestingly enough, there are different scales available on the market. There's a 1/72nd, but this puppy, this is the big boy. This is 22 inches. So it's going to be a really nice model when it's finished. And what I love about that is for these meat hooks, it's just a little easier for me to kind of play with it and build it. Now, I'm not going to do anything super special with this. It's not getting lit at all. It's just an out-of-the-box build because I just need to take a break from wiring and electronics and lighting. I just want to do something that's simple and really do a classic build. But I am going to get a little bit of help, and I do have a couple of things that I want to play with. The first thing is I have ordered my masks from TV culttvman, my Lou Del Maso's AZTEK Dummy masks. If you don't know about Lou Del Maso's paint masks, you need to. AZTEK Dummy, I think, delivers a quality product, and I don't just get one set, I get 2 to stimulate the economy and keep Lou in paint and models, because that's critical. We need to keep him building. And the other thing I have is I have this upgrade kit of these turned aluminum engine bells. Here they are, and they're beautiful. And I'm really happy with this, and I think it's going to add quite a bit of a look to it. Now they're going to get aged, and they're going to get a little bit of a wash to them, because but they feel pretty substantial to me. So and I've had this for a long time and haven't really done anything with it. It's one of those things. I pick these things up and then I don't do a lot with them. So it's got the 4 rear bells, and it's got the 6 thrusters that come underneath, and it's got the special metal reinforced landing rods. The springs actually come with the kit, and I believe you use those springs on this. At least I think that's what you do. We're gonna find out. And I've just opened this up, so I mean, it's literally it's the beginning of the very build, and I thought that would be a lot of fun for us to sort of go through this together. Now, a lot of you have probably already built this, and you're rolling your eyes, and I go, yes, I am late to the party. But you know what? One of the things I realized is that, and we're all guilty of this, is we sort of go through, at least I am, is I go through a stage of wanting to build a certain type of model, and then I need to take a break from it and just and do something else. And I do like to move from kit to kit to kit. I mean, I'm building the HMS Victory, And that is an all-wood construction from DeAgostini, and it's fun to play with balsa and kind of work it out. It is very forgiving. And then, of course, we just finished our 8th Doctor console, which was printed, 3D printed, and it had some MDF laser cut parts with that. And that's awesome. But I needed to get back to some good old-fashioned screws, so here it is. And it's a theme that I love, and I'm passionate for spaceships. So yes, I'm going to tackle this. And for those of you who haven't you sort of stumbled across the channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe. It's really important to me to get those subscriptions. It's nice to know that I'm giving back and being a part of this community. Wow, do I love this community so much, and I'm just so grateful to each and every one of you who have stuck with me and give me all of your comments. And so, as a hobby, oftentimes we say to ourselves, oh, that's too much, I can't tackle that. Guys, you can. Even if you've got an hour of your life to spare with this, and even if you've got an hour once a week, it's something to look forward to, and it's a great opportunity for you to do something creative and, have your mind escape to another place. So don't feel like if you don't have, if you have limited amount of time, don't feel like you can't do this. Please don't do that. Join us, pick up something, and just tackle it on your own time. So anyway, enough rambling. I've been going through the kit, and curiously enough, I've not opened anything yet, other than I've looked at the instructions, I've read them thoroughly, and I did look at the decal sheet, which appears to be fine. So some of these things we can paint on, and some of these things we can use decals with, or decals. I almost said decal. I watch so many YouTube channels of guys who are from the UK, and they say decal. And because I was born in the UK, I spent the first 10 years of my life there, I still have, some people say, oh, you have a little bit of an accent. But it's like if I hear it, I go straight to it. So anyway, decal decals, please yourself. The first thing it actually wants you to tackle is the actual nose cone. And so the first thing it wants you to tackle is the nose cone. And obviously it's symmetrical, so it doesn't really have a top and a bottom. But the bottom windows are usually black, and the top windows are usually clear. Now, I'm not using any aftermarket things. There won't be any photo etch on this. I'm just gonna see what we get out of the box. But obviously, you certainly could. I'm also going to probably paint this. The base color, well, after I primed it, the base color for me will probably be the insignia white. Now, I use that quite a lot on my spaceships. I just like the base color of it, and then we'll go from there. But I think the insignia white is a pretty good match for this kind of a kit. So that's what we're going to start with. And I'm going to put this puppy here just for a second and see if I can find our nose cone, which is in this bag here. And what I like to do is I slowly get everything out of the bags because it's a real pain to keep them in the bags. And if you've got fiddly parts, get yourself a little box or some little containers or trays or whatever you want, and store your little parts in those. And obviously clear parts are designed to scratch. That's what they do. And I'm a sucker for scratching my clear parts. So try to keep them safe until you absolutely have to use them. Now the interesting thing about this model is everything's designed to be pushed in from the back. So it's not something you can put in at the last minute. You've got to get these in, and that's where loose masks come in great handy, because once you've got them in and set, you can put the masks on and you don't have to worry about scratching your glass. So we'll definitely be doing that. So as I sort of start to figure out what parts I'm going to need for this, one of the things that I'm noticing right away is there's some really awesome detail on some of these pieces, and I do see like the design of this is such that you can obviously build this in sub-assemblies and then paint your sub-assemblies and off you go. It's a real smart move, I think, with kits like this, is to paint as you go in the sub-assemblies, and then, you know, get everything clear coated in your mat or whatever you want to finish it in, and then you can start to assemble these things. Patience is obviously the key to any of these things. And I've also learned over the years that even though some of the newer kits don't seem to have any mold release issues when it comes to doing your priming and your painting, I still recommend that you wash all of your parts in soapy water, because you never know, and sometimes you get a reaction, and I rarely do, but I think anyway, I think it's a step that we shouldn't forego. So you don't need to watch me cut pieces off of sprues. Although curiously enough, sprue cutters, there are apparently 10 million of them on the market. I've just ordered another pair, but some of them are single blade and some of them are double blade. And what I've discovered is that some of the single blade ones tend to be really sharp, and they don't chew your trees. And obviously cut away from your model. You don't want to cut up to. You want to cut just a. You want to give yourself a little bit of a a nub, and then carefully trim that back and then sand that back. So sometimes in the past when I was just starting out, I tried to snip as close to the kit as possible. And that's a bad idea because of the way these things are injected. It can tear the plastic. So I tend to avoid that. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of these parts out, and then we'll take a look at what we've got, because I do like to go through my dry fits and just make sure before I glue anything that everything is dry fit, for many reasons. The most important reason for me, obviously, is to learn exactly how these parts go together. And it's also a rehearsal for me for gluing, just to make sure that I'm trying to keep things as clean and as nice as possible, because the less slop you have, the less cleanup you have, and the less risk you run of losing any of your seams. Now these are quite well molded, and the lines, the panel lines, such as they are quite deep. However, interestingly enough, I'm looking at this thing. Now you can't see it, the camera won't pick it up, but it's some kind of a weird stress fracture in the plastic, or at least that's what it appears to be. I don't know what's going to happen with that as we go along, but I'm going to, after a good wash, and then it's got a couple of coats of primer on it, see whether or not there's anything there. So anyway, welcome aboard. I'm going to get going, and we'll come back in for you, just a nanosecond. For me, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, who knows. And we'll take a look at what we've got, okay? Okay, plowing right along, as they say. So it's a glorious Sunday here in Southern California, lots of sunshine. So lots to be grateful for and some things to pine about. As we can see, I've just come in from watching an absolute mitigated disaster for the Chargers. They were crushed by the Ravens, away to the Ravens, and very embarrassing. So I don't know what to say really, other than apologize for that dismal performance. But hey, you know what? We're back in the hobby shop, so who cares? Moving right along with our Eagle 2 from round 2, really, but it's still referred to as the MPC Eagle, the 22-inch Eagle. This is the Eagle 2, and for those of you who are following along with this build, a couple of things to talk about. So I started with putting this frame together, the top frame, and I have to say it gave me a little bit of trouble. Now obviously I haven't gone through and cleaned it up yet. It needs the next step for this is to give it a coat of primer and just see where we are. But you know, it's a little warped, but it'll come together. The plastic's a little warped, but it'll come back together when I seat it with the rest of the kit, so I'm not too worried about it. I just wanted to sort of get the frame together, and then I'll clean up any little seams or issues that I might have with it, because it's the top of the model, so I just want to make sure that it looks pretty sharp. But this frame comes in several pieces, and what they ask you to do is essentially glue this together without any kind of a way to check angles, really. But what I recommend you do is, instead of starting with the bottom rungs, start with the top rungs, glue one in on each end, so that you know that those are correct, those angles are correct. And then you can put one of the bottom rungs in on each end, and that gives you your perfect angle. Let those set up and dry, and then go ahead and you can start dropping in everything else. And I found that worked quite well. But I have to admit, it's quite fiddly. And as I'm looking at it, I do see quite a bit of stuff to clean up here, but I will do that. You know, it's sometimes it's interesting how your eyes just kind of deceive you, which is why you desperately need to get a coat of primer on this, so that your eyes will no longer deceive you and you can see what else needs to be cleaned up. But anyway, that came together quite well. Again, this is one of those kits you want to do with in sub-assemblies. At least I think that's the easiest way to do it. And then you can see what needs to be painted. You know, there's 2 of everything, 4 of everything. So it's one of those kits where they just pushed a button and just literally duplicated sprue trays until they had enough for the kit. Now, it's taking nothing away from them. I mean, that's a smart way to engineer a kit. But it definitely is one of those things where you want to make sure that you get all your sub-assemblies correct, your angles correct, and then you'll just have a much easier time putting this together. At least that's the way I think. I have painted my lower windows matte black, so but I'm going to set those aside because they won't go in until I ultimately close this thing up, because they are designed to go in from the inside, not the outside. But I've still got a little bit of work to do on this kit to get it before I can actually close it up. I am not lighting this kit. You certainly can. There's plenty of room to get a light inside the nose of it. But I'm just taking a break from lighting. I've been doing a ton of lighting and my head is just spinning, so I wanted something that was just you know, a nice little challenge, but didn't require me to start figuring out where all my lights go. Now, if you want to just put a little light inside the head of this, there's plenty of easy ways to do it. In fact, even Evans Lighting Design has a little small 3-volt disc battery and connected to a light with beautifully done, and you could actually just drop that in here, put a little switch on the outside, and away you go. But you know, as I've said before in some of my other videos, I tend not to go back and light things up. Sometimes for guests who want to see things, but for the most part they don't get lit up ever again. But I still enjoy the challenge of lighting things, and I'll never stop. But anyway, that's just me. I'm noticing that I've got a little bit of seam work to do on this nose. Thank you very much, primer, but that's good. So I'm gonna get to work on that as soon as I'm ready to sort of close that up, and I'm not quite yet. I've put a little bit of primer on the inside of this. So the inside of this cockpit, the next thing to do here is to get going on the paint. And I'll use Lou's masks to help me make this look really sort of cool. And then I'll get plenty of photos of it, and I always post those on my Instagram account, and I always do a final build video on my website, spruverse.com, if you ever want to check that out. But anyway, this is coming together really, really nicely. There isn't a top and a bottom to this thing, curiously, so you just go ahead and pick which side I think is going to hide the seams the better. At least that's what I'm going to do. So that's all ready to go. My two guys are here, and they are ready to go. And the genius thing about these is they're wearing bell bottoms, no helmets. This was just, hey, you know, let's go out for a ride in space. Don't worry about the fact that there's no gravity. It's all good. And they appear to be identical. So same hair parting and everything. It's the same guy. So anyway, we'll call this Clone Wars, and we'll get these painted up, and they'll look nice and sharp. But they're ready to go. For this kit, I'm sort of staying all British, really, I suppose. I'm using the Humbrol primer on it. Primarily because ultimately when I put my insignia white on, and that's what I'm going for on this kit, it'll just give it much more of a sort of realistic feel to me, to the eye, to the eye. It won't look like a toy. At least that's how I feel. But that is ready to go. I've also constructed these two engine parts, the interior of the engine parts. They've both been built. One gets this B10 piece right there. There's only one in the kit. You could spend 5 hours looking for the other one. You won't find it because you only have one and you only need one. But there you go. A little confusing on the instructions. It says install part B10 on front box assembly only, but it's like, okay, fair enough. So those are all glued up, and once they give those a little paint, I've got a little seamage to clean up there, but they're ready to go. And so I've taken myself all the way through stage 12 now, and let's get a coat of primer on all of this, and I'll also finish up painting up our guys and starting on the inside of the cockpit to conclude this this part of the video. But we'll keep going here. And so there you go. Oh, I've got these 4 engine parts. They look like hydrogen coolers, and they have an up and a down. Now, curiously, the up I did really well on my seams, so I'm very proud of myself. I was able to get a nice tight seal on these, and so as I'm looking at them, I don't have a lot of seam work to do. I'm going to just clean these up, but they went together really well, so that was good news, and I'm happy with that. So I think once we get a couple of good coats of primer on here, I think I should be good to go, and those seams should disappear. So, and I've got 4 of those, and they are all in the same shape, but again, I will clean these up just to make sure that we all look nice and clean, because you don't want to see seams on a kit like this. At least I don't want to. So we will carry on. So again, this is all about sub-assemblies really, and getting things to a part where you've got them all painted up, and then you can start gluing things together, and then of course any interior decals we'll take a look to see if there's any we need before we close up those sections. So we'll continue on. So the next step here is to actually install the outer cage to these engines, and I can't do that obviously until this is all painted and ready to go. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, well, we're humming right along. I've been a busy bee. I've been working on the guys, and they're coming together quite well. They've got a couple of coats of paint on them, and they'll get a decal for the seat belts, and then I will just do a little wash over them and just to touch them up. But you're not going to see any of this the window, but it's all part of the fun of it, right? Do as a complete job as you possibly can. I've been working on the cockpit wall, the rear cockpit wall. It now has a coat of paint, and I think I'm ready to let me do this where it's actually on camera. There. If I'm careful here, I can lift up this and get these masks off. Carefully. So that's nice. A little schmutz here in the corner. Let's see if I can't get that off. Come on, cooperate. There. So that's coming together. I've got a couple of more of these. Now, interestingly enough, I'll be curious to know if in the Eagle 2 masking kit, which I don't have yet, it's on its way. I thought I had them already, but I didn't, so I've ordered them. Loose masks from culttvman, but I don't think he provides you anything for the interior cockpit. Not sure. At least he didn't in the Eagle 1 version of his masks. But anyway, those will be behind the guys. But you can see I've masked off the areas where I wanted everything to remain white. So that's that. And then it just needs a little bit of a touch up, but that's fine. And then I've got the yellow and red, a warning to paint on the exterior of the door. I've got some black that needs to go in here, a little bit of a wash and some decals, and that will be ready to go. So that's moving quite along. And then the guys look pretty nifty in their cockpit. I'll show you just a brief look at that. So for sort of the the basics of it all, they're looking pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. You know, nice splash of color for a kit that's basically all white. But again, as I mentioned, I'm going to do mine as an off-white. It's called Insignia White. I've used it quite a bit. In fact, it's the base color of the Millennium Falcon. It's an off-white, and it's got a little bit of gray in it, perhaps even a little bit of blue, but it's a white. But I think it looks really good on these models. Now, if it is too dark, I'll bring it up just a little bit with some Vallejo white, which is not as, for some reason, the Vallejo white doesn't pack as much of a punch, say, as the Tamiya. But anyway, that's next. I've got some seam work to do on this cockpit. There's no reason why we can't seal that up and do a little bit of seam work, because my lower windows, which are black, can go in, but the upper windows are clear, and I don't want those in until I'm ready to seal this up. And again, since everything is done in modules, it's a relatively easy and fun way to build. So I'll work on that next. And then, of course, I've got a nice coat of primer on my the top of the framework of the main body, and I can see now all of the seams that need to be sanded down, and so we'll be doing a little bit of scraping and a little bit of sanding to get that clean. But boy, it just pays dividends to get a coat of primer on things so that you can really see what you're doing. And of course, I'm building the frames for the exterior parts of the engines, and those are going along really well too. And then I've got my engine sub bodies all built up, and they're over there and they're drying. So everything is is coming along, and you know, I'm going to be sort of working from the front to the back, really, I suppose, which is really why I want to get the front of this sealed up. But I think that's where the bulk of the seam work is going to be anyway. So the next time we get together, this will all be puttied and seamed and ready to go. I'll be ready to show you that. And then perhaps we'll even get a coat of insignia on this so I can show you what that looks like. But that will be ready to go, and then I can continue on, because I do need to get the interior of the engines painted up, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of dry brushing in there. For the most part, it all looks pretty white, but I want to age some of the areas down. I want to give it some washes and give it a used look, just a little bit, because I think it's more fun to the eye when you look at it in person. So moving right along, this is the Eagle 2 from MPC round 2, and it's the 22-inch version, and I'm having a blast. I'm so happy to be back working on sprues and plastic, and something that actually fits on my bench. It's been a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed episode 1. Lots more to do. I'll continue to post updated pictures and more detail on Sprueverse, my Instagram account. You can also check out my website, which is sprueverse.com. And please, if you're just new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It means an awful lot to me. And so until part 2, as always, I bid you please be well, be safe, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.